Welcome back to the Deliberate Exchange. So, I've been thinking about what I see so often written about stepping into your power and choosing to rise. And how can you do that when you feel stuck and stressed? Now, when I think about myself in the past, when I've felt stuck and stressed, I think about how I've been able to move out of that. And so, for this episode, if you've been feeling like that, or if you feel like life is running on autopilot while you're barely hanging on, this episode is for you. My hope is that by the end of this episode, you'll not only recognize the patterns that have been keeping you stuck, but also feel empowered, another buzzword, to start breaking them. Because real change begins the moment that you decide to choose differently. So, you know those moments when you realize that you're living in the same cycles over and over again, whether it's in your relationships or in your career or in the way that you show up for yourself. And no matter how much you think about it, how much you want to change, nothing is actually shifting. And then you end up tired and you're frustrated and you keep telling yourself, I just need to get through this week. But then next week comes and you feel like you're in exactly the same space. Now, I've lived in that same shit cycle and it's awful to be in. And I want to walk you through not just how I looped out of it, but how you're able to do that too. So the first thing that we need to address is the stress. Because I don't think most of us really realize just how much it shapes so much of our experience in life. Yes, there's the big stressors like when somebody dies, but there's also those little imperceptible stressors that build up over time and consume us. And it's not just about feeling overwhelmed. Stress literally changes how we think, how we make decisions, how we respond to the people that we love. And if we don't do anything to interrupt it, it just becomes our baseline. So for me, stress used to show up in a lot of different ways. Before I used to snap at people over, still do sometimes. I used to snap at things that didn't actually matter. And I always felt like I had to be on all the time. And if I slowed down just a little bit, everything would fall apart. I'd sit down to try and relax, but my mind wouldn't shut up. And I would just keep looping through the same things that I should be doing. And then I'd be watching TV, scrolling on my phone, and also probably reading something all at the same time. And worst of all, I was feeling so disconnected from myself, from my body, and from my own intuition. Maybe you felt like that too. Maybe you wake up and you instantly check your phone for something, but you don't know quite what it is. Maybe you're already bracing for whatever fires you're going to have to put out today. Maybe you can't even remember the last time you actually felt like yourself or at ease. Maybe you're walking on eggshells with your partner in your relationship, like you're trying to keep the peace, but deep down you are exhausted from holding everything together. That's the stress cycle. And until we actively break it, it just keeps running. Now, when I first started trying to fix my stress, I did what a lot of people do. I went straight to the surface level solutions. I thought that if I could just be more productive, or if I could just find the right morning routine, it would make everything feel easier. But those things don't actually work if you don't go deeper as well. It's like putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling wall. So this is what actually made a difference in my life. The first one, breathwork. I've talked about it before. If you have been in this world with me for a while, you know that I love breathwork. And it changed my world, right? Like I said, I've talked about it before, and it sounds so simple. We're breathing right now. But the deal is when you are stuck in stress, your nervous system is in survival mode. You're either bracing for impact, shutting down, or stuck in overdrive. And breathwork has been the fastest way I've found to physically shift out of that. And the first time that I really dropped into it, like 5 years ago, I felt emotions come up that I didn't even realize that I was holding on to. I felt so much tension that I didn't realize that I was holding on to, and released it finally. And this is why I talk about breathwork so much. It's not just about taking some deep breaths every once in a while or in your morning routine. It's about reclaiming your body's ability to regulate itself so that you don't have to live in constant fight or flight mode. The second thing is deep work, right? Like getting really honest about what's actually running the show and where our kind of pain points are. So I was actually doing the deep work, actually taking a look at the beliefs and patterns that were running my life. And some of them were really ugly. I had to face the fact that I was overworking because I tied everything, including my worth, into being useful and productive. And I also stayed small in my relationships because I was afraid of actually being too much. And I would keep myself really busy so that I wouldn't have to sit with my own thoughts. And that's the hard part. Like, it's really easy to blame all the external circumstances. It's really easy to say that I'm just in a stressful season right now. But if you're always in a stressful season, it's not the season, it's the pattern. So the deep work actually means sitting with yourself and asking, what am I avoiding? What part of me do I not want to look at? And once you see it, you can finally start shifting it. And I know that it's uncomfortable to do that. And you probably already have an inclination as to what those different parts you're avoiding and where you need to start shifting. The third thing is mentorship. Like having somebody outside of myself to call me forward. And this was a massive game changer because I had to stop trying to do it all alone. I really thought that I just needed to figure it out. That if I read enough, if I listened to enough podcasts, if I consumed enough social media, or I just worked harder on myself, I would crack some kind of code. Now, the truth is, I was actually too close. I was too close to my own patterns to see them clearly. And I often talk about perspective and how that's necessary so that you can start making shifts. I needed somebody who had already done the work to call me forward. And just notice the difference between calling me forward and calling me out. Like there's place for both, but a true mentor actually calls you forward. Now, getting mentorship wasn't about getting somebody else's answers, which would be really handy, trust me. But it was about having somebody reflect back to me what I couldn't see, to actually challenge me when I was playing small, to ask me the hard questions, to show me what was actually possible when I stopped getting in my own way. Now, what's funny about mentorship, but also kind of maddening, is 5 years ago, I had a mentor who was absolutely inspiring. I actually met her at the very first breathwork class I ever did. She was dialed in and is an exceptional leader in this space. After I worked with her, after she helped me lay this incredible foundation of which I stand on today, I couldn't follow her journey anymore. I hated seeing her posts. I felt envy. I felt scarcity. I felt lack. And I wanted to prove that I didn't need any more help, that I could do it alone. But I also still massively admired her. Now, eventually I actually muted her. And it wasn't just to avoid her, but it was to sit with what was coming up in me. And that's when I realized that, like, she wasn't calling me out. She was calling me forward. And the feelings weren't about her success. They were actually about my resistance to expansion. I had built the foundation, but refused to go deeper. I thought that it was good enough. And I knew that if I wanted to grow, I had to lean in. And recently she actually had announced an immersive experience. And I put my ego aside finally and booked a call with her. And then I spent 8 weeks being supported and led. And the shifts were life altering. The way that I see difficult relationships, different. The way that I see myself, completely different on a cellular level. The way that I show up, also entirely different. Like it's a new level of confidence and power. And I'm going to sign up for a second round because I know that this work works. And the best way that I can lead my clients is to keep expanding myself. And if you're feeling slightly triggered by someone's success, like if you're annoyed by my posts or these podcasts, I want you to ask yourself, is this resistance? Or is it an invitation to your next level? Because I promise you, your next breakthrough is waiting on the other side of those answers. And also, for me, investing in support outside of myself felt super scary. Like there's always something better to spend my money on. But I've changed that belief too, because there's literally nothing better to spend my money on than myself. And there's also a cost to staying stuck. Like it cost me more than I was actually realizing. It ended up costing me years of my life of staying kind of stuck in that pattern where I avoided my mentor. It impacted my relationships. It cost the version of myself that I knew was waiting just beyond my comfort zone, but ignored it. And so here's what I want you to take from this. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're just running patterns that were never designed to help you thrive. And the second you decide you're done with them, you literally open up a whole new world of possibilities. The only question is, are you ready to choose differently? Because this is your moment. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know the whole path ahead of you. You just need to say yes to yourself. You need to say yes to feeling better. Yes to shifting your energy. Yes to stepping into the life that you actually want. So take a deep breath. Drop into your body and feel the version of you that has already made that choice. How does that feel? If you're like me, it's going to feel hella inspired and you're going to be like, let's fucking go. And then you can step into that. And also, just for the record, I do believe in you. And I can't wait for you to see what happens for you next. Until next time, I want you to breathe it in, be deliberate, and please be good to yourself. And if this resonated in any way, I'd love for you to reach out and let me know how and in which ways. I'd love for you to download this episode, leave a review, share, subscribe. This is all helpful in keeping me creating more episodes like this because I want to help call you forward. Thanks.